Hello friends, I am Chevee. Welcome to my shed. How are you today? How's life in your world? How's things where you are? Hope everything is great. I'm going to sit down today. It's been a while since we've done this. I took the day off today to recharge, and by recharge I mean that I spent some time down here. I made a couple little craft projects, like one of these little handled baskets. I've been told I should make lots of those in various sizes, but one of the other ones I made, my shop smells like cranberry right now, which I'm not a fan of. I bought a couple little plants at Walmart for a couple bucks each and wanted to make planters out of them, and I used some just some old pallet wood that I had, cut some 45s, made some boxes, and for the simulated dirt I decided to use like a coffee sawdust blend, and I had some packets of flavored coffee that I'm not going to ever. One of them was cranberry cream, which I don't like cranberries, and you add cream to it and it just sounds naughty. No thank you. So I used cranberry cream coffee as simulated dirt today. Now the shop smells like cranberries. But I wanted to do something today we haven't done in a very long time. Back long ago, I wanted to I was attempting to make a show. I was attempting to make a conversational show, a back and forth, and it just never worked out that way because the topics that I picked either weren't interesting to people or just the timing was wrong, and I wasn't a good host. Probably all of the above. So what I used to do on Fridays was go back through your comments. Now this week I've had a ton of comments because some of the videos have been really far-reaching for this channel, meaning that they've got above the 60 to 70 view threshold, meaning that it drew people in to actually watch them. So I wanted to talk about some of the comments, and I hope that's okay. I mean, you're here, so you know that I'm often one to just do whatever I want anyway. But I did a video, we'll start actually last Friday. I did a video called Just Try It Anyway, which is one of the best views. I've got 38 views, which is really good for a recent video. And I talked about, my kid asked me to make a book, and I had no clue how to make a book, and I just did it. I did it anyway. It didn't matter. It didn't have to be fantastic. And one of the replies I got from Joel Nert I really wanted to share was, I love this message. Being afraid to try something new is a thing I've struggled with if I don't have someone there to show me how to do it. This is in line with the message of the video I put out a few days ago, and this idea has been on my mind. And if you haven't checked out Joel's channel, you should. He has something like 8 world records now for putting stuff in his beard. It's pretty cool. But thank you, Joel, for stopping by and being a active member of this community. I really appreciate that. And then, so let's go back to the painting thing where I painted this was Monday's video. I painted the chair and the bathroom tray over the weekend, and I talked about it. Talked about some of the lessons that I learned. And Jonathan mentioned that a drum sander could be double duty of cleaning up one by material as well as prep for other things. Just thinking about this via thickness planer, especially if you can get other sources of thicker pine to mill, and if the cost versus labor is worth it. Yes, I have a thickness planer. It snipes really bad. It snipes like 1/8 of an inch, about 2 inches at the end of the board. So I make my boards probably 5 inches longer than I need them, and then cut the ends off, and that's annoying. I can control that snipe if I take really light passes on the final few passes. So if I dial it down to like within, say, 1/8 of an inch, and then I take 2 16th inch cuts, that snipe gets way less, and I could drum sand that out. So it would be a really good combination with this particular machine. Now the other option would be to get a different, like a 4-post, a better planer. But I can get pine. I can get rough milled pine pretty cheap. Like I've said before that I can get poplar cheaper than I can get pine right now. And that's true, but by the time I mill it, it's not true, right? By the time I spend my time jointing, planing, sanding, all of that, I've lost money. But if I can sell those projects as hardwood projects. If I sell poplar or cherry or walnut or any other woods, there's a premium for that, right? But I can get pine even cheaper. I can get pine ridiculously cheap. But again, all of that milling time is a lot. But the drum sander would help. The drum sander would help a lot for a lot of things. Even plywood. Like, if you're going to assemble a plywood cabinet, it'd be really nice to have a pre-sanded finish. Slap it together, you're done. All you gotta do is put finish on it. So doing panels and stuff, that's part of the reason I've been thinking about the drum sander. Carl from In20 asked, he said the paint looks good. Is there some kind of paint or stain that's made to go on and then dry with a distressed look so that you don't have to do the distressing yourself? I swear I could seen something like that in the past anyway. Yes and no. Let me show you something that I have. This disgusting thing, and this lid might be rotted through already. This is a jar of antiquing liquid that is made up of vinegar and then put steel wool in it. It doesn't have to be steel wool. You can use nuts and bolts or whatever, but steel wool will completely dissolve in the vinegar. And what you end up with is this kind of ferric solution that reacts to tannins in wood. And if you brush this on oak, it will change almost immediately. I think this probably isn't oak, but let me show you. I can show you by the end of this video. See how kind of, especially on these edges, how light that is. If I dip it in here quickly, and it doesn't take a whole lot. We'll shake it out and just let it sit over here while we talk. I'll show that to you later and you can see the effect that it has. Now, this only works on high tannin woods. Oak is the best. It'll turn oak gray very quickly. Pine doesn't do much. I have used it on pine, and what you do with that situation is you paint on dark black tea. So there's a lot of tannin in tea. Paint the pine with the tea, let it dry, and then paint it with this stuff, and it'll turn like a walnut color. It doesn't gray like oak does. Oak turns gray. It's really cool. So you can just make this stuff. I do not recommend making it in the jar with the lid on. It does off gas and it could pressurize the jar. So be careful about that. I left the lid off while it was cooking and then only sealed it up later. And the vinegar has almost eaten through the lid. But there's that. If you wanted to do the distressing as far as like the edge sanding, I've seen people use toothpaste or Vaseline on the edges, then paint, and then you can peel that off. I don't think that would work with a rolled or brushed paint, though. You would just end up smearing that around. So it's usually used with spray paint. So if you could spray that paint, if you could mix it thinner, yeah, you could use something like toothpaste or Vaseline or something on the edge of the wood, paint it, and then wipe off that stuff, and then you wouldn't have to do the sanding. But part of the sanding is not just the breaking of the edge, it also kind of feathers that paint so it looks worn. If you hold your if you hold your sander correctly, you can get kind of a feathered effect. And if you do multiple layers of paint, you can even bring those out in that kind of old worn look if you want to try that. So there's that option. This is fun. I haven't done this in a very long time. Let's see. So that was that video, and then I did the perfectionism or engineer video. This has got a lot of comments. Carl again says there's definitely an overlap in the perfectionist and engineer brain. Don't let the overthinking enervate your efforts. Nice use of the word there, Carl. Yes, overthinking things can be a problem. And this is where Matt Loomis came in and said, personally, I think perfection is a farce in both software design and woodworking, and I'm sure loads of other industries. You're going to have real constraints of the systems / materials / tools you have access to, the time you have to build, and the limits of your personal knowledge. That makes perfect a moving target. A single API key might be the perfect if there's no risk. A pocket hole might be perfect if it's never seen. A butt joint might be perfect if it's not going to be high enough stress to matter. I think all these things have their place, and it is your experience that allows you to apply the correct imperfect solution to a problem and call it perfect. That's a great way of looking at things. Nothing is ever perfect. Like, it's not possible, right? If you want to, perfection doesn't exist. Even to the, there's no such thing as a perfect sphere, for instance. Like, nobody's ever made one. We've gotten close. We've gotten, down to the millionths of a micron, but you just can't do it. It's not possible. So to chase saying this is the perfect thing is not possible. You can make a piece of furniture that's nice and square and has clean-looking joints, and that's perfect enough for that project. I think Matt makes a really good point that don't try to overdo things before you get done with it, right? Like, do it. And then if it's not perfect enough for you, fix it or do it again until it is. And that's what practice is, right? I had a band director who'd always tell us that practice does not make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect. Because if you practice wrong, you're going to be perfectly wrong. And that's true. So make something, see if it's perfect enough. If it's not, try again, and you'll eventually get there. Which brings us to Lanier Wexford's, have you considered the iterative approach? So you don't have to know the whole solution, just the next 20 hours. Yes, I love the iterative approach. The iterative approach is fantastic for just about everything. In software design, it can be a bit of a pitfall because you could iterate for 20 hours, find out that that is not correct, and then spend another 30 hours fixing what you just did because you have to undo it. But that's usually for huge scale things, right? Making an API that's secure isn't probably in that category. There are certain steps to making the API secure that you can do with confidence, knowing that, all right, I don't have to fix this, or if I do, it's just this one component. But there are, you couldn't iterate on, I mean, you can. I'd say focus your iterations on smaller things first. When I used to design board games, I would make a board game, and then we'd play it and it would suck, and I would iterate the entire game and then try it again and it would still suck. But because I had changed so much, I didn't know what part of it wasn't working. And so instead of fixing one thing and then getting it to work and then fixing the next thing, I tried to just paint the whole thing with a new brush, and that's harder to do. I would say iterate, but on a smaller scale. That's my personal view on that. Then we talked about the post-game slump. Matt Loomis again said, I agree with you on the slump, and I think it's caused me to play fewer and fewer video games as I get older. They tend to excite me less and provide less fulfillment than other endeavors, but when I find one that I'm excited about, I generally pour all my free time into it until it's finished. Yes. Yes. When I play a video game that excites me, when I read a book that excites me, I'm all in. Like, that's what I do for the next however long that thing takes, and then the slump afterwards can be crushing. Right now, I have a book list that's huge, so I have something to fall back on. I'll just go read because I really love reading. He also gave me a recommendation for Bluetooth headphones. I'm excited about that because I'm going to buy them. They're on my wish list if you want to buy them for me. That's a joke, by the way. Don't do it. Carl from N20 said, I like games with a good story too. I enjoy turn-based games mostly, but don't think I enter a slump after beating one. Turn-based games are a little more replayable because they are more like a board game. You can take them off the shelf and have a run through at any time, so when I finish a new game, I have old faves I can fill time with. I love turn-based games. Fire Emblem Heroes last year was one of my absolute favorites. I picked up, Carl mentioned in a later comment, Fell Seal Arbiter's Mark. I've tried it. I bought it on my Switch. I got excited about it. It was on sale, and I just can't. Like, it's one of those games. I like turn-based games where I like skirmish level games. So you're just like 5-6 dudes. That's about it. Make a party. You've got a DPS. You got a tank. You got a couple of archers, a cavalry guy. And I like for those to take, like, say, between 6 and 10 turns. Because if it's any longer than that, unless it's like, a boss battle, which I'm fine with, but just for regular, here's some dudes on a road, if it takes me more than 6-8 turns, it's like, listen, I got this, right? I've already killed 2/3 of the party. This other guy's across the map. Now I have to waste turns getting over there, and it's like, I don't want to play that way. And that game, Fell Arbiter, or Fell Seal, seems to be like the maps, or the skirmishes are more like 10 to 20 turns. Like, they're long. And they're, like I said, you kind of slay half the party and you still have to fight the rest. And it's just like, it becomes very tedious very quickly. That one kind of bothers me. But I do love turn-based games. So if you know of any that, especially that are available for my phone or for the Switch, I really don't PC game at all anymore. I played Langrisser on the Switch. I loved it. I have Disgaea, but I couldn't get into it. It was too JRPG. There was like 25 layers. I might go back and try it because that was a few years ago. That was 4 years ago. Switch is 4 years old now. And then yesterday we had Foiled by the Weather, and And Matt said again, Matt commented something that was nice. He said, we are all social animals, and even for introverts like myself, I found the quarantine and 100% work from home has weighed heavily on me more than I would like to admit. Your logical brain knows that you get it through it, but that doesn't make it suck any less in the moment. That's true. That's very true. My logical brain knows that this is just temporary. And I told my kids, I had a conversation with my daughter the other day because she was, you know, her work sucks. You know, life is hard right now. And I told her, just get through it. Like you just have to have a mindset of this isn't forever. This is temporary, right? That's how I got through boot camp. I was a very unfit child. When I went to Marine Corps boot camp, I was 6'2" and 127 pounds, and I could barely do a single pull-up. And I got through it. And I got through the mental bullshit of it. I got through the physical bullshit of it because I knew it was just temporary. It's 3 months. They can't keep you longer. They're not going to torture you forever. These guys aren't going to show up at my house and berate me when I'm 40. And so I just thought of it that way. I thought of it as it's 3 months. I can get through 3 months. All I have to do is eat and wake up and I'll make it. Like, that's it. And so I think that I have applied that situation to this. As much as I love to say that I could do this for the rest of my life, I do need interaction. I do need social interaction. I have M, thank everything. I would be bonkers crazy right now if it wasn't for him. In many different ways. And I have my children. And my children are something for me to focus on and make sure that they're doing okay, and gives me a little bit of a reason to power through, right? And that's important. So this was fun. Oh, the piece of wood. This must not have been oak. I don't know what this is, actually. It might be some form of, it's not cherry. It might be ash or something like that, but you can see it kind of reddened it. So it's almost like a stain situation. It definitely darkened the front. And that's pretty dry. It's still a little bit wet. I will let this fully dry, and I'll post a picture on my Instagram. You should go check it out anyway, because I posted pictures of the projects I made today. Thank you for being here as always. Thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing, being amazing friends, wonderful people. I really appreciate you. And I'll see you again tomorrow. No, Monday. Today's word you should know to sound smart is enmity. It is a noun meaning mutual dislike, animosity, hatred, antagonism, or disagreement between two groups or parties. Was the enmity between Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier an act, genuine, or a combination of both? Enmity. E-N-M-I-T-Y. Did I just say genuine? Genuine? How did I say that? I said that really wrong. Also, I recorded a video of me making those flower pots, so